The night was cold, the rain steady, and the streets of New Orleans glistened under the flickering streetlights. Senator John Kennedy, weary from a long day of meetings, pulled his coat tighter as he stepped through the revolving glass doors of one of the city's most luxurious hotels. Few knew this particular hotel held a deeper meaning for him. It wasn't just another building. Years ago, Kennedy had been a silent investor in its creation, pouring in money and ideas to keep jobs alive in his home state. This was his place, a piece of his story, though he never wore the fact on his sleeve. As he approached the front desk, tired but calm, he smiled politely at the young receptionist. "Good evening," he said softly. "I'd like a room for the night." "Just one, nothing fancy." The receptionist, glancing at his slightly rumpled appearance and worn briefcase, didn't recognize him. Her brows furrowed, and she hesitated. A moment later, her tone shifted to something clipped, dismissive. "I'm sorry, sir, but we're fully booked." Kennedy glanced behind him at the nearly empty lobby, its polished marble floors echoing with silence. Something didn't add up. He leaned forward, his eyes kind but firm. "Fully booked? Not even one room?" The young woman shifted uncomfortably, but before she could answer, a sharply dressed manager stepped out from a side office. His eyes scanned Kennedy up and down with thinly veiled disdain. "We don't have space for a broken bar walk-ins tonight," the manager interrupted curtly. "Our hotel caters to a certain level of clientele." Kennedy felt the sting, and not because he needed the room, but because of the arrogance behind those words. He wasn't just being denied, he was being judged, dismissed as if he didn't belong in the very place he had once fought to build. He could have walked away quietly. He could have booked another hotel and gone on with his night. But instead, Kennedy straightened, his voice steady but carrying the weight of quiet authority. "Son," he said, fixing his gaze on the manager, "you may want to take another look at your guest ledger, because this place you're standing in a broken bar, it's mine." The words hung in the air like thunder. The receptionist froze, eyes wide in shock. The manager's confident smirk faltered as Kennedy reached into his coat pocket, pulled out his wallet, and laid down a card embossed with his name and title. "You see," Kennedy continued, his southern drawl slow and deliberate, "when this hotel was about to shut its doors and hundreds of folks were going to lose their jobs, I invested in it. Not for recognition, not for profit, but because people needed work. They needed hope. And now, you're telling me I don't belong under my own roof?" The lobby grew so silent that even the hum of the chandelier above seemed louder. The receptionist's eyes glistened with guilt, and the manager's face flushed with embarrassment. He stammered, searching for words, but Kennedy didn't give him the chance. "You judged me by a wrinkled coat and tired shoes," Kennedy said, his tone firm yet compassionate. "But let me teach you something my mama taught me. A person's worth isn't written on their clothes, their wallet, or their title. It's written on their heart, in how they treat others when no one's looking." The receptionist lowered her head, whispering an apology. The manager, humbled and sweating, tried to backtrack. "Senator Kennedy, yeah, I didn't realize But Kennedy held up his hand. "That's exactly the problem. You didn't realize because you didn't care enough to look dapper. Tonight, you made me regret trusting you with this place. But tomorrow, you'll have a chance to make it right, because the way you treat strangers says more about you than the way you treat your boss." He turned and began walking toward the door. The manager, desperate, called after him, offering the best suite in the building. But Kennedy stopped, glanced back with piercing eyes, and said, "Keep it. I'd rather sleep somewhere that knows the value of people, not appearances." The next morning, the story spread like wildfire. Employees whispered about how the senator had stood in their lobby, humiliated yet dignified, and reminded everyone of what true leadership looked like. Guests shared the tale online, praising his humility and his lesson in respect. Within days, the hotel owners took swift action. The manager who had disrespected Kennedy was quietly replaced, and new training programs were introduced to teach every employee, no matter the role, that kindness, humility, and service mattered more than status. For John Kennedy, it wasn't about revenge or pride. It was about principle. He didn't just make them regret it instantly, he made them remember it permanently. And as he walked into a smaller, humbler, and that night, greeted with warmth and a genuine smile, he thought to himself, "This is what hospitality should feel like." Not marble floors or crystal chandeliers, but dignity, humanity, and respect. By the end, the story became more than just a hotel incident. It became a reminder to America that appearances fade, titles come and go, but the way we treat one another, that's the legacy we leave behind.